I'm Rhonda Freeman from Neuro Instincts, and welcome back. So I want to talk to you about one of the most common emails I receive over at the website, and it's regarding discriminating people who have narcissistic personality disorder and those who have psychopathy. The question is often, just nail it down for me. What is the difference? And yeah, I get it. It can be tough to decipher between those groups. You know, I put out another video to touch on it a little bit, and I gave examples of how they can respond to the exact same situation really similarly, however, do so for very different reasons. But with this video, I want to veer in a different direction and talk to you all about the narcissism spectrum. And in that way, you can see how these two groups are so similar. However, there are some striking differences between them. All right, so I want you to first take a look at this visual. We have narcissistic personality disorder at the beginning. In the middle is malignant narcissism, and at the very end is psychopathy. And of course, psychopathy has severity levels, with the most profoundly socially dysfunctional symptoms at the very end. At that point, we're talking about truly evil violators, like the serial killers or the psychopathic pedophiles. Now, this spectrum that starts off with narcissistic personality disorder and then it goes all the way over to psychopathy was first highlighted in the 1980s by a prominent author and researcher, Dr. Otto Kernberg. He described the symptoms of malignant narcissism as reflecting components of narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. Now, narcissistic personality disorder is a disorder that psychologists, psychiatrists, neuroscientists, neuropsychologists diagnose our patients with when they demonstrate symptoms such as the following. 1. A reliance on others to define them. Self-esteem that's derived from the outside world rather than within. Next, they are emotionally dysregulated with mood states that fluctuate up and down. C, they seek to gain approval from others. D, they lack empathy and the intimate relationships are shallow. E, they use their partner to bolster their self-esteem. Many survivors refer to this as supply. F, they seek to be admired and have attention focused on them in some manner. And G, they're extremely self-centered, arrogant, and feel that they're better than other people. We can look to the work of Dr. Kernberg because he describes how this combination is not the same as narcissistic personality disorder because it's further down the spectrum. He explains that malignant narcissism meets the core criteria of narcissistic personality disorder. However, they also have the presence of antisocial behaviors, aggression, and paranoia. So essentially, this is a very hypersensitive, fragile individual who is paranoid, who lashes out at others, and requires the world around them to reflect back how special they are. This is a very dangerous combination. People might describe them as immature, vindictive, liars, petty, thin-skinned, hateful, insecure, jealous, paranoid, moody, angry, and draining. And although they encompass those traits, they're completely dependent on the world to feed to them the message that they are superior and the best of the best. Now, it's easy to hear those traits and think that such a person is basically a psychopath. However, there are differences between the three disorders of narcissistic personality disorder, malignant narcissism, and psychopathy. So let's talk about some similarities and differences. So let's start off with some similarities. Now, since malignant narcissism is on a continuum or spectrum, it encompasses the core features of narcissistic personality disorder. But because it's further along the spectrum, there will be more pathology, there will be more symptoms. Therefore, the disorder is no longer exactly the same when we hit the point of malignant narcissism. But we're not quite down the road yet at psychopathy. Therefore, when we speak of people with malignant narcissism, we are looking at a group of people that are fragile, hypersensitive, with the inability to take criticism due to narcissistic injury. They're pained by the negative opinions of others. At times, it can even be any opinion that differs from their own that they'll perceive as threatening or insulting. They're able to form connections with others and have loyalty to a group and concern about people who are similar to them. For example, a hate group. People with psychopathy, though, are different because individuals with psychopathy cannot bond and therefore do not have concern or protection of others and would not have protection of a group. However, similar to those with psychopathy, people with malignant narcissism have anger, a need to be dominant, and they have a shifting in their beliefs that they can do in an instant. For example, one day they are pro-life and then the next day they are pro-choice. It can be based upon the impression they're trying to make or portray at the moment. It just doesn't go any deeper than that. Because individuals with malignant narcissism have antisocial features, they lie, cheat others, reject social norms. They don't find value in being tactful. They hurt people. They destroy the lives of others, retaliate, and humiliate. They are paranoid people. To quote Drs. Goldner and Moore in their 2010 study, they are preoccupied with conspiracy theories. People with malignant narcissism, like those with narcissistic personality disorder, tend to exaggerate their specialness and what others think of them. People with psychopathy are not usually boastful or grandiose to impress others. If they are bragging, it is typically to get something, to manipulate, or demonstrate power. Similar to psychopaths, malignant narcissists are also obsessed with winning. Because of their fragile ego and insecurity, they have to hear that they are special, and they have to hear that they're the winner, while all others are losers. Now, as we move down the spectrum, we have the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder and malignant narcissism that will be present within the diagnosis of psychopathy. And I've gone through the symptoms of psychopathy in other videos. As you can see, malignant narcissism appears to be a blend or a hybrid of narcissistic personality disorder and psychopathy. Psychopaths are much more callous, without a conscience, and lacking in the ability to care about any other living being but themselves. Unlike both types of narcissism, psychopaths are not environment dependent to regulate themselves. So they don't need to be fed constantly with the "you are special and amazing" spoon. They are special in their own mind already and have extreme levels of callousness, cruelty, and violations toward whoever crosses their path. They will attack in various ways if they are challenged and often get bored quickly of people, discarding them without an ounce of guilt, shame, or remorse. One of the things that is a sign is the really super hypersensitive ego. Very, very fragile and needing to convince people how special they are in a little bit of a pathetic way. Somebody with psychopathy would really need to convince somebody else that they're special so that that person can then give that specialness back to them and think, wow, you really are special, you really are amazing. And they can go in and be cruel to you because they feel that you give them that respect that they absolutely deserve. So they're not going to come in and be in a bit of a submissive position to try to convince everybody around them, look, I'm special, I'm special, I'm special. They just wouldn't do that. That's not what they need to do. They don't need to convince the world that they're amazing. But people with narcissism of the both types, the regular diagnosis and then the malignant narcissist, they tend to be really dependent on their supply, and they need to be fed, almost just constantly need to be fed with their specialness to help prop them up and keep them together. Now, is that diagnostic? No, it's not diagnostic. But it is a way that might help you in figuring out which group you're dealing with. So you'll see somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder behave with incredible cruelty and lack of empathy. And you might think, well, that person has psychopathy. But then you'll also see that person trying to convince you that, I'm a winner, I'm special, I'm a smart guy. They need you to believe that so that you all are both believing in the same false self that's been created. So they're buying that false self. They want you to buy that false self, and therefore you will reflect that false self back to them, and everything's great. But of course, no, everything's not great. In the meantime, everybody is sort of paying homage to this false self. And there's no real connection going on, and no one's really being cared for. No one's being genuinely loved, and people are getting hurt. All right, guys, so I will be back for another video, and I will see you next time. All right, I wish you the best. Take care. Bye.